Hey guys, it's Nathan, and today I'll be showing you guys how I lube my MX style switches with some of the thinner lubes that are out there. This is by no means a definitive guide, but just my personal take on some of the techniques and applications to achieve that Nathan Kim spec certification. Now, for those of you guys who have never delved into lubing before, just be warned that it is a time-consuming process. Depending on your proficiency level, it can take anywhere from slightly under a minute to 3 or 4 minutes per switch. And if you're lubing something like a TKO keyboard, that will easily eat up an hour or two at the minimum. So turn on your favorite songs, grab your favorite drink. I just got some beans from Puerto Rico, so let's go make some coffee. Alright, I'm back. Let's give this Puerto Rican coffee a try, shall we? Thank you so much, Toasty Party, for these beans. You Puerto Ricans sure do know how to roast some good beans. Alright, let's get to lubing, shall we? We start by opening up our switches. While having a switch opening tool is not required, this particular one that I use was recommended to me by user Velvet Crow, and it's been working pretty well and has made opening switches a breeze. You simply line up the prongs with the switch and gently push down, and the switch is opened. I'll have a link to this in the description box down below, as well as other items that I use. For those who don't own or have access to a switch opener, a small flathead screwdriver works just as well too. You'll notice that the top and bottom parts of the housing are held together by two clips. You want to place your flathead in between those two clips and wedge it underneath the top part of the housing and push upwards. To start the lubing process, here's what you'll need. Your lube of choice, in this case Krytox VPF 1514, a paintbrush, and your open switches. Now you don't need any special brush for lubing, but I personally like this brush because of its size. It fits just perfectly inside the slider column, which helps apply a nice even coating. This also means that the brush is just wide enough to cover the width of the slider and spill over just a little onto the sides of the slider as well. With all that out of the way, let's get to the actual lubing. I begin by dipping my brush in the lube, making sure that all my bristles are covered completely. Now the key with lubing is that less is more. I then like to run my brush twice against the edge of my vial on each side to remove most of the excess lube. We begin by lubing the slider columns first. I brush the first slider column 3 times from bottom to top with one side of my brush, and then use the other side of the brush to lube the opposite slider column. I also lube around the outside of the center column. Next we lube the spring. After having lubed the bottom housing, I usually still have enough lube left on the brush. I begin by lubing one end, placing it on the center pillar, and then lubing the other end. At this point, I like to refresh my brush with lube, so I once again dip it all the way to get an even coating, and then this time brush 3 times against the vial on both sides, as I'll be using even less lube for the stem. I like to hold the stem with one hand and press the center pole firmly against the ring finger of my other hand for stability. I then take my brush and gently run it down the stem until I can see a nice thin coating. Make sure to start your stroke all the way from the top of the stem. Using my ring finger as a pivot, I turn the stem around to the other side and do the same. I then lube the front of the switch, only lubing the legs of the switch if they are linears. For tactile switches, do not lube the 2 legs. Then lube the bottom edges of the stem, and finally evenly coat the back. Just to give you guys an idea of how much lube is applied, here is how the stem looks against harsh lighting. While how much lube you decide to apply is preferential, after a certain point, over-lubing can ruin the feel of a switch. One main benefit of using less lube is the fact that you can always go back and apply more if needed. Now all we have left to do is to reassemble the switch. Simply place the stem on the spring and turn it so that the legs are facing the contact leaves. Grab the top part of the housing and align the logo with the contact leaves as well, and clip it all back into place. And that's it. That's how you lube your MX style switches with thin lube. So there you have it. The main takeaway point from this video should be that when it comes to lubing, less is more. Over lubing a switch can completely ruin the feel, but if you under lube, you can always reopen the switch and reapply more. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to subscribe if you already haven't, and join that notification squad by clicking the bell icon down below. Make sure to follow me on Instagram as well. Thank you so much for watching, and see you guys next time.